On you, sir.
All right, so first off, I'll kick it off with a safety moment and then we'll just go around the room and introduce everybody so everybody knows who each other are. So the safety moment for the meeting is setting yourself up for failure. So time of year, time to get up a little bit earlier, get your vehicle cranked up, get the frost off the windshield. What you don't want to see is, I told mine for what he is. You show up in the parking lot and you've got a 3-inch hole in the windshield and that's all you can see out of, we're gonna have an issue. But that's everywhere. I mean, your wife's going to work, you're coming to work, get up a little bit extra early, crank the vehicle up, let all that frost clear off the windshield. Knock on wood, we hadn't had snow yet. It is a law that you have to clean your windshield off and you have to keep the snow off the top of the vehicle. So you don't want to be that vehicle that you're behind somebody, a sheet of that ice flies off, hits your windshield, cause you have a wreck because somebody else is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's time to talk to employees, talk to your wives. You gotta get up a little bit early, watch the weather, make sure you get these vehicles cleaned off, so you're not having these accidents, these injuries.
Yeah, there's more and more people rolling around with video cameras in their car too. So if you are that individual and you throw some ice on there, he's got your tag and the whole.
It was on the news.
Yeah.
This, I guess, end of last week, cop pulled a guy over, gave him a ticket. He said his windshield wipers were broke, but windshield was completely covered. You can see out the very corner of it. Some people he called in, erratic driving, and that's the only reason he got pulled over. He gave him a ticket for not cleaning the windshield off when he left. But if that sheet of ice flies off and hits you and you're behind it, that's a shocker right there.
Yep.
So just making sure we're cleaning the vehicle off and we're prepared to drive in the winter weather. So that, we just go around the room, introduce everybody, so even on the phone, on the video, everybody knows who we are. So I'm Scott Parker, Dominion Energy Supervisor out of North Durham.
Dan Glover, ITS.
Tim Jones, at this office, South Durham Operations, Dominion Energy, I'm with the Transmission Department.
I'm Joey Nelson with the External Affairs Department for AT&T.
I'm Perry Shreddick with North Carolina 811. You're up, Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Parsons with Lumen. I'm over the locates and route maintenance for North Carolina.
Hang on. I heard you because you coming through my hearing aids, buddy, but they didn't hear you. I don't know why it did that.
Gotcha. Can you hear me now?
No, hang on. I gotta click off my hearing aids. Hello. Matt, have you got us?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Sorry about that.
You're all right. Matt Parsons. I'm over. I'm with Lumen over locates and route maintenance for North Carolina.
All right, cool. Thanks, sir.
Well, appreciate everybody showing up, and with that, Eric, I'll turn it over to you. You can start your video.
Yeah, let me make sure this thing is at its highest volume. So this is a reminder, everybody, we are going to record this, and it will be our meeting minutes. Get rid of this so you can see the screen. Right. So welcome to the December for the Durham UCC 2026. Hard to believe Tristan said a few more days. Blink our eyes, we'll be at December 2023, which is, as you get older, life does go faster. Mr. Lewis Pander has a few words. Winter's coming, and as you'll see across the state of North Carolina for last month, that the volume did increase. Next year, we're going to be looking at some low-hanging fruit. One of the things they're going to be looking at is the damages with no call. Wow, if you're a professional excavator, why are you out there digging without calling an 811 ticket? It's cheap insurance and it's free. Also, again, we've been looking at the excessive updates or the updates period for some time. And we make a little bit of traction and then it goes back to the old way. And I tell people, it goes back to the old way because it's the easy way, right? Path of least resistance. All then is keep updating it. That way, when you get ready to go out there, it's ready. But you show up on the naughty list when you say it's going to take 1 day or less and you're on their 8th update. It doesn't cost you anything, but every time a transmission is sent, it costs the individuals who's receiving that transmission.
It's costing somebody.
Yeah, the O&M cost is going up. And then we're gonna reach out to the public works for education as well. One of the things you can do is ask yourself what you can do to reduce damages. So thanks everybody for being here. Number one, that's point number one. Number two is when you go out and you meet the general public, you're a force multiplier for the utilities because you're interacting with the public and making sure they're calling 811. The stickers on your vehicles does the same thing as well. Last but not least, work safe and enjoy the holidays that are coming up. So before I forget, I'm hoping everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year, and we'll see you again next year. So there is a little mini excavator I was talking about. Again, it stays on the trailer, and it's a great educational tool. This young lady here, we were at the NC State football game. I think it was a Thursday evening, Thursday night. And yeah, I mean, it's a great tool to get the kids on. We've got kids that can't even reach the lever. I mean, their feet are dangling. We'll get on one side, a parent get on the other, and they just want to be able to put their hands on there and pick those balls up and throw them in the bucket. So again, a great educational tool, and we can bring them out to your event if 811 would normally show up at that event. So as you see here, we're looking at November of last year versus last month, and you can see the tickets did increase across the state of North Carolina, 6.2%. And year to date, a 7.3% increase. So that's going to be from January to the end of last year. And I don't have my preview here. For some reason it's not showing up, but it's about 2.3 million tickets that were called in to the end of last year. I'm sorry, last month. So I don't know what it's going to end up being, 2.5 million. Probably not sure. It's going to be exciting to see it. And we're looking at November of, again, last year versus last month, and this is in transmissions, a 2.8% increase. As a reminder, for every ticket that's called in or generated, there's approximately 5.5 to 5.6 transmissions that go out to the utility members once that polygon is drawn around that area that the locate request came from. And year to date, a 3.6% increase. So looking at Durham last month, you can see the 3-hour increased slightly from 380 to 433, a slightly less than a 14% increase. The new tickets decreased actually 20.1%. And the ticket update, unfortunately, again, part of that low-hanging fruit, increased 12%, 2,706 updates called in last month. The average locates per day, 343. Year to date, the 3-hour actually decreased, even though it was up last month, 3.1%. The new ticket total year to date, 3.5% increase over this time last year. And the ticket updates running steady there, almost a 12% increase year to date. Average locates per day year to date, 366. So out of the 7,202 tickets that were called in Durham, you can see the city, 6,926. Only one really. Nobody else even came close. Some smaller numbers over there, as you can see. And Durham had 52 damages that reported last month to 811. So again, it is the law that the excavator that actually does the damage is supposed to call 811 to report the damage, but we are asking utility owners to follow up just in case, they don't want to show up on anybody's radar. Man, I tore it up, I got to pay for it. I don't want to let anybody else know. By the law, they are supposed to be reported. So we do ask the utility owners to follow up with 811. If we get 2 reports at the same, we'll just ignore one and make sure we populate. We don't capture anybody's name. Hey, Bobby backhoe service will put in the plumbing and Joe Bob's on the backhoe. Just had us putting in water and they hit the gas line. That's all we report. Some dates coming up next month. We've got the Underground Damage Prevention Review Board. Let's see if I can get my little highlighter going here. There we go. We got an Underground Damage Prevention Review Board. It's going to take place January the 17th, and that's going to start at 10 a.m. All three of the events are going to take place at the 811 Center in Greensboro. If you've never been to it, it's a nice facility. It will be open. If you've never seen the proceedings for the Underground Damage Prevention Review Board, it's a great thing to sit and watch. Obviously, if you're on the phone or in person, you can't interact with. They've already got their cases set and they've got their evidence. They're just reviewing it and then coming to a conclusion. The state UCC meeting is going to be Tuesday, January the 10th, again at the NC 811 Event Center. This one will be a hybrid, so I believe you can jump on the Teams meeting like we're doing now and as well as in person. And then the North Carolina Locate Resolution Partnership Committee, or what's commonly referred to as the LRPC, is going to meet on the 18th, and that's going to start at 11 a.m. as well. So if you've never been to the event center, come check us out. It's a nice facility. And as a utility owner, if you are having an event and you'd like to use the event center, if you remember 811, you can request it. If it's not being used, you're more than happy, or you're more than welcome to use it. We do request that if you're having an event and it's going to be a for-profit event, that you don't use the facility. If it's just a host a party or something like that, and it's available, I think you can do that. So just a reminder, if the holidays are coming up, and obviously you don't have to worry about Thanksgiving, but Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas are going to be observed holidays. And then obviously the January 2nd, you have to exclude those days out of your 3 work day process. So just let folks know about that. Again, if you want to know what's going on within the NC 811 world, you could have saw that we were at the Neighborhood Woods Tree event. You can go to the NC 811 app or the NC UCC calendar events to see not only where the UCCs are going to be, but where we're going to be out and about meeting with the public. There is your good-looking education team led by Ms. Ann Rushing. I've got a bone to pick with them because these folks have got 2 stars on either side of their name, and then you got like the monster here with nothing. You might say, what in the world happened? Yeah, so we got nothing beside our name. Here's Mr. Tyler Ross. He is our newest education liaison, and he is covering down in the western part of North Carolina. So if you had a chance to go out there, you may see him at some of the meetings. Again, thank you for your time and attention. A copy of this PDF, along with the video minutes and the sign-in roster, will be uploaded to the NC UCC for your future viewing pleasure. You can also grab a hold of that URL, send it to somebody, and then they can look at it as well. Scott, that's all I have, sir, barring anybody's questions and/or comments.
Sound good. So now we should do a round table, see if anybody got any topics, and I'll kick it off. So since our last meeting, we had quite a few damages through our gas lines, fiber work, and a contractor. Working with the city of Durham and with Segra, we had a safety stand down with the contractor. Went really well. They shut them down I think they ended up shutting them down for like a week and a half. Well, then we go back to work. We had a safety meeting with them. And now going forward, the city of Durham's got in place where any contractor, including ourselves, our subcontractors, have an at-fault damage, they're automatically shut down for a period of time. We don't know if it's going to be 1 week, 2 weeks. I guess it depends on the severity of it, but
Yep.
We're making some progress with the city of Durham, trying to get some of that stuff under control. And it's since the meeting and the shutdown, it's worked really well.
You think Scott, it's gonna be, the first offense will be like 3 days, the second offense will be a week?
So the city of Durham's handling that part of it. I think looks like it's gonna be cookie cutter. It's at least a week first time.
Okay, wow.
But it got pretty bad. I mean, we had consecutive hit lines by the same contractor, evacuating homes, shutting down downtown. So it just they had to put their foot down and do something about it.
Yeah.
But they included everybody in it. It wasn't just fiber work, it's anybody. I mean, if you got an at-fault damage, it's gonna be a review of it and find out what was the cause of it and do they shut them down or not, so. But like I said, knock on wood, we hit lines that went down tremendous. I mean, we were having 2 or 3 a day. We're not having many now, so
Good.
it's something that's working, so. You hate it got to that point, but something had to be done about it, so. The meeting with them went well, a lot of education on what a line, what a mark means. A mark running this way, if you find something running this way, that's not what's marked, so communication goes a long ways between the contractors. They're trying to get work done, trying to get projects completed, trying to make money. We're trying to save our guys from having to respond to hit gas lines, so. We took a day, so I'm out of North Durham. We took a day, shut all my crews down. We visited every job site in Durham that we could find and done education for one day. And I think that helped out. Just stop and talk to anybody we saw digging, we stopped and talked to them, make sure they had good tickets, make sure they were potholing. We caught people blind boring, stopped them and told them, hey, this is what's gonna happen. And going forward, you'll be shut down. So, I mean, you can't just rely on the marks being on the ground. You have to take ownership of it and work to help those guys out too. So I think we've made some good progress in that field.
Did you guys use your app, the new ticket app?
We did,
Yeah.
I think some of my guys did, but yeah, I mean, that helped them out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, afterwards, we talked about that, and I think most of the guys got it app on their phone now.
Okay, cool.
So I thought that was pretty cool on that part. Trevor Green,
Oh, yeah, Trevor, yeah.
damage prevention specialist. He's mainly in Raleigh. We had him in Durham. He helped us out with some of it. So we're trying to work towards, and this early on, is any contractor working in Durham. They're working in Durham doing a lot of work. Is trying to get them to our fire pit in Cary. Let them see what a gas line looks like on fire. That's probably gonna get their attention too. So we're working towards that. So.
That's definitely an eye.
No, it's one thing you hear a gas line blowing, but you see one on fire, it's the real deal.
And, you know,
You can feel it, you can.
let's say you have, I'm not trying to take away you, Scott. Let's say you have like a fire pit in the backyard with your family, kids,
Oh.
next door neighbors, and your face gets a little warm, it might get a little hot from time to time. That's nothing compared to what we have over our energy center.
Yeah.
It's
That's
pretty intense. It'll definitely make you realize this is not something I want to be involved in at all.
And the crew we met with, we try to make them understand is every time you hit a gas line, you're putting somebody's life at risk. Whoever hit the gas line, and then when we have to respond to it, you're putting somebody's life on the line every time you have one. You can tell when you talk to them, they didn't even, like, it's never even crossed their mind on that. Those safety meetings definitely help out.
I asked as a contractor, if the lines are not marked correctly, who's responsible?
So,
You shut down.
so it's got to be an at fault, it's got to be your fault. So if it's not marked correct, that's not your fault.
But it's somebody's fault.
Right. So what we're doing is, if on our end of it, if Southern Cross is locating for us, mismarks a gas line, we're calling them and we're shutting down.
Because we spend a lot of time looking for stuff.
And we can,
Not the gas, but sometimes we get a lot, looking for stuff that's not there.
so,
Because they overmark.
so
their butt.
what I'm doing right now is, when we have a hit gas line, I'm working with Dalton Nichols and Jeremy Payne, which is an inspector, one of the head guy with permitting in City of Durham. The other guy is a inspector for Dalton. If we have a gas line is hidden, we're meeting on the job site and figuring out who's at fault. Am I at fault, my guys mismarking, or they at fault for not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then we're moving forward from there. They just hit a sewer line on Holloway Street. Looks like that's gonna be an at fault on the boring rig contractor, they're gonna shut them down. It doesn't have to be gas, they're gonna shut them down for anything that they hit. They actually hit a sewer line and got over in the sewer line with the boring rig and run a rod or two up in it. Ooh.
Now, when you say you're shutting down your utility, folks who are locating your line, you're not shutting the whole, you're just shutting down one individual.
The
Okay.
individual.
'Cause I was gonna say, if you do that, you're not gonna get your lines up.
And that's the same thing with like the contract crew.
Yeah.
We're not shutting all of their crews down.
Just the individual who created the
But
band.
whoever, if that company, say it's B and G, if they got 4 or 5 crews, they're gonna shut all those guys down.
Right.
So you just need to do a safety stand down and get everybody on the same page. But what we had was the same crew hitting big lines, major lines, that hit 3 or 4 within a week's time, 2 weeks' time. So there's, we got where, but I swear that the education, it was well worth the time. You hate to cost people money on them, shutting them down, but you get people's attention when you shut them down. So, you hear the comment, and it comes from the contractors out there working. It's cheaper for them to hit the gas line. If you shake your head, you probably heard it. Than them spend an hour out there looking for the line, they can hit it and move. If they get on by
Yeah, same.
it goes on. It goes in my locators here all the time. It's cheap for me to just hit it and pay. If it's a service, $400, $500, they can make that up in footage and keep on rolling.
And if it migrates into a house,
No,
or system or
They don't,
a service lateral,
they don't.
blows the house up.
The guys out there working on it never even think about it, because we told them all that, and it's like a deer in the headlight, like, man, we never even thought about any of this. So education goes a long ways on that part of it. And it was funny when the safety meetings, we had it in the parking lot in Briar Creek, and there was a bunch of guys out there. Started the meeting, it was 4 or 5 guys on the phone playing. Owner of the business standing right beside me. I said, dude, that's what I'm talking about right there. He said, what do you mean? I said, them dudes right here at this meeting still won't care, because they'll be on their phone. And even the owner of the company's like, yep, you're right. They're not even paying attention. And he hit the roof over it. So you gotta get buying. You can't give us, and I know this when giving my guys safety meetings, you can't give a safety meeting and expect them to pay attention unless you're rough on them. You gotta get their attention and make them understand. But education goes a long, it's paid dividends so far in Durham.
Well, good.
That's the main thing I want to talk about. You got anything? Good. Ian?
Yeah, I do. We get out a contractor. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I guess trying to get some knowledge out of this. What do we do if we have a repeat offender? And what I mean by that is the same contractor, and they just will not communicate. They will not return a phone call. I would say after the hundreds and hundreds of locates that call in, as long as I know they've been in business, that are working just around our transmission pipeline right away. This is not what, Scott oversees with his department, or Jeremy oversees in South Durham, but just in the transmission department alone, we probably had hundreds of locates that my whole department will respond or make communication with this contractor, and they just will not respond. We've had a couple of heated conversations over it, and I get the same story all the time. Well, the big hitter, which is Spectrum, and that's why I said I'm not trying to throw Spectrum under the bus, but they are working for Spectrum and they are representing Spectrum. We've had our own internal, Mark Worth. That's kind of how we have to do the whole chain of command.
Yeah, I was gonna say Trevor Green, you need to get
Trevor
Trevor
Green,
Green involved in it.
Mention that name. I need to get with you.
Trevor Green.
This information.
Because I think, so if they're not communicating with us, if it gets bad enough, the review, they can go to the review board of,
File notes of violation to the underground damage commission review.
because with the transmission line, we expect them to communicate with us because we have to be on site.
Right. And when you're talking about blind boring, it would be nothing for them to do a bore, stem bore under a road and not even call us. And here's the kicker, is not only are they not calling us, they're doing the work for the time, the work day and time is expired. And so sometimes it doesn't even get, sometimes, just most times, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I will go out to the job a day before the work day, and you can see where the job has already been completed. You can tell, where the grass has been disturbed, in a little mud or something. You can tell exactly you know, what they did and how they did it.
And they're on y'all's right of way doing that?
Pretty much, yeah. And if it's not on our right of way, it may be a thing where we're on the DOT right of way and that crosses there. Yes, on our
With the
private.
transmission line?
Right, correct. Yeah. So just trying to, I know Mark Worth has dealt with 811. And in fact, I've seen the correspondence and email chains and stuff like that. But I just don't know how much leverage do we have as a company if we feel our utility has been violated in that regard. I don't,
I think we got a lot of saying, because Trevor Green's our damage prevention specialist in Raleigh and Durham,
okay.
but he's gonna need to know ticket numbers,
Factual
dates.
information, you know, the pictures, yeah,
pictures.
which is the stuff we do with Mark. You're saying we can,
But I
I
mean,
guess,
what you need to do is you call Trevor and he can tell you what kind of information to get together.
Okay.
And what he's got is he's got a relationship with a lot of contractors.
Mhm.
It may be just that he needs to sit down and talk to them about the process. It might be that they don't understand the process or.
and I've explained to them, I've told them, you know, this is what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with just a plastic, you know, service to someone's house. You're dealing with a transmission line that feeds city to city. And it's like they just don't get it. And they said, well, we're being pushed. You know, and we're trying to get the work done. You know, Spectrum is forcing us to get this much done. I said, well, and again, we go back to, we can remind them of the explosion in downtown Durham.
Well, so what happened in Durham that helped out also is a couple of residents in downtown Durham got evacuated. They emailed the city manager. They copied in a link, the explosion downtown, and said, are you waiting till this happens again?
Hmm.
Spectrum was, contractor was saying they were getting pushed by, I guess it was Spectrum's sector. So they were getting pushed by them, so they wasn't cutting driveways to pothole services. And that's what they were hitting. They were hitting the service, but we had to weld on fitting to get it under control. Secretary sat there and said, that's not an excuse anymore. They're gonna pay them. They're actually get paid to cut driveway, to pothole everything. He said, so they're expected to do that on every one of them. So I think that's just.
But it wasn't until the homeowners got together and said,
And
hey,
it put the pressure on the city.
right. It shouldn't even had to get to
That's
that
right.
point,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, but also sometimes.
But it's gonna take some communication, just like we had to do with these contractors.
Right.
And Trevor helped out with some of it, so I mean, I would definitely get him involved.
And that's the biggest thing, and I will share this, we had, I'm working on a project right on the Durham-Lake County line, and it's a large commercial site. We've been blasting on the site for quite some time, and the blasting contractor has to submit a blast plan to our PEs. And once that is approved, then we go in and we monitor it, we check it for leaks, and we have all kinds of equipment to detect, you know, things before and after a leak. Well, one particular blast we had far exceeded our limits. And I think the limit for our company is 2.5 per second.
That better blast the graph down on the gas.
Right. And in this case, the seismograph was sitting right on top of the pipe, and we're registered at 5.3. And so double exceeded our
Parameter, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about shutting a project down. This is when you get the developer that's got millions of dollars, you know, already invested, ready to go, large cranes erected. You've got pipe crews, you've got builders, you've got grading, utilities going in, all that because of one blast went wrong. We have to shut, you know, just one aspect down. But when we do that, it affects everybody. Yeah, they can't go forward. So, and that's what I try to explain to them, that the heat was on me to try to remedy this and say, hey, you know, we need to get your company to approve all this. But, you know, I can't go so fast. You have to resubmit a blast plan. We have to get the fire inspectors back out, and all that has to, it's a process. So I go back and say, hey, you know, had y'all done your due diligence to begin with, like you've been doing all along, I think they just got greedy and decided to do one big shot where they could have done 3 shots and we wouldn't have to worry about all this. Because not only does it tie me up, but it ties other personnel internally, you know, that really don't have to get involved and shouldn't have to get involved. all because of neglect.
You think they did it on purpose?
I don't think they did it on purpose, but I will say this, it could have been handled different because we had been blasting on this site. I'm guessing we probably had a good 10 or 12 shots on this same site in different locations, but they stayed in the parameters that our company expectations.
You have to deal with it, check it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we had to get, PG to come out, and of course, that was a big deal. And then, yet, and then it puts us in, as far as liability, it puts us in a predicament too, because the way we're set up, and I've learned this the hard way too on other jobs, we can't take, even if the contractor agrees for payment, we can't accept that payment from an accounting standpoint. It's kind of hard. I know some people will probably say, well, how come you can't just take this and just transfer it over and pay your internal contract? It's not that easy to do. And the money could change hands. You could have the DOT come, if it's on a highway roadway, they can come in and say, we have to do more mill and overlay. And then the price of asphalt changes. Well, this contractor that you just had signed a liability form saying he's agreed to these damages, it's going to be an excessive price increase. Yeah. Yep.
Since we got, we went virtual during COVID, it's hard to get everybody back in here. You know, we got German and anything but now.
Okay.
We'll be Chris involved.
I don't know.
You got anything, Baldwin?
I don't, thank you.
Trash, what else you got?
Matt's on hold. I guess he can hear us, but he must be taking another call, but I don't have anything else. The next time we're gonna get together,
Okay.
obviously this one meets every other month. It's gonna be February the 8th
Okay.
in the same location. If you guys are good with that,
I'm good with that.
Okay. February the 8th.
All right, sound good. Thank everybody for their time. Everybody be safe and have a good holiday.
What are you saying?
All right.